Today on Capechi's Corner, we're going to learn about trapezoids. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral with exactly one pair of parallel sides. Parallel sides are called the bases, so right here we have our base, and these are our parallel sides, and the other two sides are called the legs. Similar to isosceles triangle, an isosceles trapezoid has congruent legs. So in our diagram, AD and BC are our legs and they're congruent. And we also have a theorem that goes along with isosceles trapezoids. We say that the base angles of an isosceles trapezoid are congruent. Now, remember we have two bases. AB is a base and DC is also a base. So angles D and C are congruent and angles A and B are congruent as well. And looking at our diagram, we know we have a trapezoid because we have marking that our bases are parallel. Bases are parallel there. And we also know that we have an isosceles trapezoid because our legs are congruent. So we know that if angle W is 117, angle Z is also has a measurement of 117 because base angles of an isosceles trapezoid are congruent. Now, along with that, to find out the measures of angle X and Y, remember these lines here are parallel. And then we would consider each of the legs to be a transversal, so we know that we have supplementary angles there. So the measure of angle X would be 63 because angle W and angle X are same side interior angles, so they're supplementary. And the same thing with the measure of angle Y is also 63 degrees. Now, an interesting thing about an isosceles trapezoid is that we know the diagonals are congruent, and this is why. In an isosceles trapezoid, we know our legs are congruent, so I'm going to work with these triangles down here that I redrew. So we know that CD and BA are congruent, we're given that. AD is reflexive, so we have this piece right here is congruent to that piece right here because it's the same thing. And we also know that our base angles are congruent, so angle A is congruent to angle D. So we have that these triangles are congruent because of the side angle side postulate. Now, if you realize going back and forth from our given diagram to our separated triangles there, that BD and CA are our diagonals of the trapezoid, and they are congruent because of CPCTC. So therefore, the diagonals of an isosceles trapezoid are congruent. Now we're looking at another trapezoid that is not necessarily isosceles, and we know that the median of a trapezoid joins the midpoints of the legs. So in this diagram, we're going to say that XY is the median because we can see from the markings on the diagram that it joins the midpoints. CY and YD are congruent, so Y is a midpoint, and BX is congruent to XA because of the markings, so that we know then that X is a midpoint as well. Now the theorem we're going to look at states that the median of a trapezoid does two things. The first thing is that it's parallel to both of the bases, and the second thing is that it has a length equal to the average of the base lengths. So what we're going to do to find the median is we can add both bases and then divide by 2 to find the median. Let's look at some examples. So in number 1, I notice that the median is equal to 31, so I'm going to set that equal there. Now when I add my bases up, I get X plus 38, and then I'll divide by 2 to find the average there. Now to isolate my X, I can do one of two things. I can cross multiply, or I can multiply both sides by 2. It's really the same thing. So 2 times 31 gives me 62, and I know that is equal to X plus 38. I get X by itself, and I end up with the value of 24 for X. So that means that ST has a measurement of 24. Let's take a look at number 2. So my median has a value of X plus 4, and my bases are 8 and 18. So I'm going to have to divide them by 2 to find out what the measurement of the median is. So again, I can cross multiply. Now when I do this, I'm going to take 2 times the quantity of X plus 4, and I know that equals to 8 plus 18, which gives me 26. Now I'm going to have to distribute that too, so it gives me 2x plus 8 is equal to 26. So 2x is equal to 18, and x is equal to 9. Now if I want to know the exact measurement of the median, I'm going to plug that in. And I know that 9 plus 4 is equal to 13, so that's my median. Now, I like to look at the trapezoid after I'm done and just kind of eyeball to make sure it looks okay. So I have my one base is 8, and my other base is 18, and my median is 13, so it looks pretty good. It looks like those values could make sense in my given diagram.